All right. Well, hey, welcome to another 10 at 10. I'm excited this morning to have Pastor Jake with me. Jake, welcome to 10 at 10, man.
Hey, man, thanks for having me. This is great.
Yeah, man. So always good to talk to you. And weirdly, like normally I talk to you every single day and see you, but now that hasn't happened. So it's even better in that sense as well. Hey, how are you and the fam doing during this time, man? Just give us a little update.
Yeah, it's been interesting. I think we'd all say this is something we weren't prepared for,
Yeah.
and so it's been. I think we started on the front end real idealistic, and oh man, we're going to get a lot of stuff done, and what a sweet time this is going to be with the kids. And then very quickly, it's like, wow, this is a lot of time with the kids, and
Yeah.
it's really hard to get the things that we have to get done for work, and it's so. Those first couple of weeks, I was feeling that out, that kind of excitement of being together, and then really around Good Friday and Easter, I started feeling that like, man, I just really want to get things back to that normal, that routine. Having a work routine is really good for somebody like me. And so when all of a sudden you have to be really self-motivated at home and no one kind of like having that kind of authority of the time frame you're at work and things like that, you have to really dig in and kind of realize you got to put some discipline in play and really get things done. And it's just been hard to navigate. Really a time of learning how to be more patient and waiting. So
Yeah, I mean, I agree on all of those fronts. I was super like, oh, we're gonna kill it, man. It's gonna be amazing. And at the end of the first week, I was like, or maybe not. Like maybe we're gonna try to survive. And I think now, like, I mean, we were talking a little bit before this, but I feel like I'm starting to get to that point where it's like, okay, I've started realizing what I haven't done well.
yeah,
And try to start thinking through, okay, I need to be a little bit more relaxed with my schedule as far as being okay with spending time with my family and things like that, but then at the same time a little bit more disciplined in some areas too and finding those. So yeah, man, and both of us are extroverted, so we're missing seeing people like crazy. I drove by your house the other night and I wanted to do, like, it was everything I could to not just like pull in and come on over and be like, hey, what's going on, man?
God, yeah.
But I had
Oh,
two
for
kids in
sure.
the car and I knew they'd start screaming. So yeah, I get it, man. Well, I think we recognize that, and I had a small group leaders meeting last night. We talked about this, that I think that there's hardship already. I think a lot of us are feeling similar to what we've just described, that this is beginning to get harder. It's not novel anymore. It's not new. There's a lot of rhythms and just frustrations and loneliness and some of those things. But the truth of the matter is that the maybe some of the most difficult hardships are just now starting to arrive.
Yeah.
People are losing work, as more people are getting sick, as the economy starts to go downward, and things like that. The needs in our community are just going to rise and rise. And we as a church, we just want to be committed to meeting the needs of our community. I've been reading through a book called The Heart of Christ for Sinners and Sufferers. And it's really throughout it, it's just talking about how much Jesus loved people. Like
Hmm.
that he couldn't see people who were suffering and his heart not go out to them. Like he had so much compassion on the crowds, and especially those who were, interestingly enough, sick and suffering.
Hmm.
And so as I've been reading through that, I'm like, man, that needs to be the heart of God's people. Like
Yeah.
that's got to be our heart too. In this situation, we can't just go, man, this is really hard and we're out of this sync and all of these sorts of things. I think it's right to do that. We got to be real about what we're struggling with.
Yep.
But I think that one of the best ways to really move through that is to then look outward and go, okay, well, how can we help? How can we serve? How can we do this together? So Jake, you want to add anything to that, man? Just as you're thinking, as our kind of outreach and missions pastor, just what you think is the heart of the church, and a little bit of why we need to help and serve.
Yeah. I mean, so, even in this last, 3-4 weeks, I've gotten tons of emails and texts from people in our church saying, hey, how can I help? I'm available for this. The few things that I've reached out to people, it's been, quickly the need is met and they're excited to do it. We had a church member who had a plumbing issue and two guys were jumped all over it. And we were able to take care of that. I was just there for show, really. But,
Good thing. Otherwise, there would have been more plumbing issues to follow.
absolutely. Absolutely. But yeah, you're right. You're seeing the need increase. And what you can see, what I've noticed in America is, is this maybe just our culture, so many different avenues for help, is people just like, what do I do? And you don't get a lot of, people have a hard time reaching out and asking for help.
Yep.
And so the big issue is mobilization, right? Like mobilizing your church in order to serve. And so what we're seeing is we just need some way to be able to say, okay, here's the need. Now let's connect it to somebody who's willing to serve. And so what we're trying to do is, get some things on our website, areas where it's real clear and easy for people to see, hey, I need help. Okay, hey, fill out this information here, and we're going to pair you with somebody who's willing to help. And if you're willing to help, you can go to the website and you can click on, it says make a difference, and you click on that and fill out some information of where you're able to help, what your skill set is, and we'll pair you with that opportunity to serve. And in my heart and our the heart of our church is not just to say, hey, here's the groceries to do like where there's no like interaction. We want to be able to physically meet those needs so that we're there and we can. And really, I came across a great acronym, BLESS, and it says, the B is be a neighbor, and then listen, and then encourage, and then serve the need of that person, and then share the hope you have. And that's what I think there needs to be a physical presence. We don't want to just, give out money, though we do. We want to give, just with incredible generosity. We want to physically be there on the doorstep to say, here this is, and I want you to know that Jesus loves you, and here's the gospel, and he died for you, and what a great opportunity to share that hope we have. At a time where people are scared, nervous about what the future may hold, uncertain just in finances, and when those things hit, you're so clouded with all that, you have no time to think about, a greater hope and joy, and want to be able to point people to that in these times for sure.
Yeah, man, I think that's so good. And so, I mean, just right on. I mean, that's even with our small group leaders. I told you, last night when we met, everybody's like, hey, we want to help. We just like, how do we, where do you need us? How do we get connected? And when we're not connected, when we are a little bit more isolated and distant socially, it's hard to know what the needs are. And so, that being able to, that's, I think, the biggest question we have in one sense is, okay, how do we do this? How can we really meet the needs of our community? How can we figure out what they are? How can we then really kind of get there and get people there and connect people to others and that sort of thing. And then I love that second point that you brought out too, that I think so essential, that we just can need, that ultimately what people need is more than just something sort of, I mean, we want to meet physical needs. Mm-hmm. And we recognize that. That is so significant. Jesus did that over and over and over again. He met physical needs. But the greatest thing Jesus did is he was with people. Yep. That ultimately he met their spiritual needs. And he did so by being present with them. And so we want to serve and meet physical needs in such a way that we invite people into the presence of Christ, like that we point them to Jesus, who they need most, and be able to do both of that. And honestly, I think that's so helpful. I mean, that's what I think we hear. That puts both of these things together, right? The struggles that you and I are having, just being distanced with people, but still, a lot of the physical needs are being met. We're okay in some of those areas, and I think many people are. Though increasingly there's more struggles in that area, but a lot of people are hurting with the physical needs, and yet they're still hurting with those social and spirit, all of that. So we want to be really present with one another as much as we can in a safe and a healthy way, as the government, sort of guides us in that way, both local, state, national sort of thing. So Jake, I think a big part of that is going to be the website. Being able to connect people to our website, to being able to connect people to help, both. And I think you're right. There's two, like, we were talking about this earlier. We need to reach out to help, and we need to reach out for help. Absolutely. And we want a website that's really clear on how to do both of those things. Here's how you reach out to help, and here's how you make a difference, and here's how you reach out for help. And we'll talk a little bit more about this, but sometimes that second one is harder. For sure. Yeah. Maybe you can show us the website a little bit. You're the technology guy now on our staff, man.
I don't think that's true, but I'll take it. Yeah. So if you look here's our website, and it's just real plain right in front of you. I need help. That's obviously for someone who needs help. They would click there, and then it'd pop up like this and have an opportunity for them to share their information. This information would only go to a pastor, and that pastor would use that information to connect them to the person who's going to help meet that need. So if you had your phone number, the person who would volunteer to serve that need would call that number and say, hey, what do you need? How can I help? And then offer that opportunity to meet and just work out all the logistics there. So they would fill out that information, click below on what their need would be. And we have some things here, and even another where if it was something that was not in the list itself, you could describe what you needed. And then just kind of tell the circumstances of how we can serve you. How, well, what are some struggles for you? Because perhaps, it's a financial hardship, and the person that's serving them, knows of a job opportunity. In a lot of ways, this is networking, a chance to be able to say, hey, I actually know of a job opening. If you're interested, I think you'd be great for it. And you create that relationship. And as you create those relationships, the people who are most vulnerable are those who don't have that network. I once saw a video where, it asked the question, if you lost your home, how long would it take for you to have a place to live? Well, I have my mom, my sister, my brother. I have a network of people. I'd have a place to live. Well, some people don't have that. If they lost their home, they wouldn't have a place to go. And so, it's creating that network and relationships, that community that you see in the church. And then they would submit that, and it would go into our Google Share Doc, and then we'd be able to pair them. And then you go back and you see, for those who who want to serve, it says make a difference. You click there, and it kind of gives you a list of some of the things that we're already doing, giving food to food pantries. You can drop those off at the church, deliver groceries as someone requests, and be able to go and pick those up and take them to their home. For our DIY guys and professionals that are good at fixing things, a great opportunity if someone has a home repair, a small home repair, something may happen. You don't have the finances to take care of it. And hopefully we can find a way as a church to step in and take care of those needs. Perhaps it's just a small part on a water heater, or, guys with more ability would know better, but an opportunity for somebody to come in and be able to serve in that way. And then another way, for our creative folks in our church, a lot of people are making masks already. The homemade masks, you've seen that everywhere. We would love to be able to distribute those to people who need them at the grocery store, things like that. And our essential workers and people who are most vulnerable to COVID-19. So just a great way, I think, to hey, I want to serve. Okay, we got your name. Hey, I need help. Great, we got your information. Here you go. They're going to be contacting you. And it obviously, we want to be able to meet every need, and we're going to try to think creatively in every way we can. But there's going to be needs that we can't meet. We can't obviously do it all. But as a community, as a city, and all the churches in our community and people serving around, we want to be able just to be a part of that community and trying to be a good neighbor and meet as many needs as we possibly can.
Yeah, man, I love it, man. It looks great, and thanks for sharing that. As go through, and thanks for helping. I know Ashlyn and some others did a great job in just making that a reality, and goes through. And I think you're right. The truth of the matter is Jesus tells us to love our neighbor as ourselves.
Yep.
And the hard part is that in our world, we're just not as good at neighbors as we used to be. I mean, I don't mean that negatively, but we just aren't as connected to our neighbors as we used to be. And especially in this time when we're not out and about, it's really hard to know. And so this is kind of a way to, hopefully be able to really figure out, hey, what's going on in our neighborhoods, and who needs help, and how can we be really good neighbors in this time. And man, I'm super excited to, kind of launch that. So I think next steps wise would be, hey, if you need help, reach out to us for help. I know that's sometimes hard to do. And that can be, I think it's important too to recognize that can be a bunch of different things, right? I mean, it can be a physical need. It can be, just even transportation, like picking up groceries or something like that. Maybe you're in that risk population, and it'd just be great for you not to go to the store. Like, let us help. And then it could also be spiritually, counseling. It can be just talking to someone, a phone call, getting some relationship, things like that. Really anything. Just the key is you got to reach out for help when you need it. And then if you're in a situation, and I would think all of us, right? I mean, in some ways, there's going to be some people who are going to reach out for help and also reach out to help.
Yep.
So maybe they need some help with some physical needs, but they can make phone calls.
Absolutely.
And so man, I hope our entire church just hops on and starts going, hey, yeah, I can help. Here's where I can help. And here's what I need, and those sorts of things. And we can really begin to be the church. And it's important to recognize, especially for the I need help, not just Rock Point Church. I mean, if you're not a part of Rock Point Church, you don't go to Rock Point Church, you never even really heard of Rock Point Church until someone pointed you to our website or whatever, that's fine. Like,
Absolutely.
I mean, we want to know what you need. We want to reach out and help. We want to help our community in any way we can, and be as good a neighbors as we can, and really love people well, because we have a God who has loved us well, and has shown us such compassion. So, man, that's super exciting. Any sort of parting thoughts you want to give?
Yeah, as you were talking, I was just thinking about, our culture in America, and you're right about, our struggles on, being a neighbor and how times have changed. And I just think back to my time in Ethiopia,
Yeah.
and the way it was just easier there on some level because, one, people didn't have a concept of walls and doors and times. They just would come and they would sit and they would have tea, and it was just time to have tea and hang out as a neighbor. And you had that built-in community. And so you were just keenly aware of needs because you were there. And I just want to encourage everybody, it is a beautiful thing. It is a beautiful thing to live in community that way, to sit and slow down, to share a need. And it doesn't communicate that you're weak. It communicates an opportunity for us to love and display the love of Christ to one another and to a watching world. And so, yeah, I would encourage anybody, I just need a phone call. Absolutely. There's no problem there. If you're someone who's alone and you need a phone call, let us know. We'd love to call, especially this extrovert. I need to talk to somebody. So
I agree, man. One of my favorite things, our staff's been going through and just calling some of the seniors in our church. And man, it's one of my favorite days when I just sit down and talk for an hour or so and just check in. And I love it. It's so encouraging to me. And honestly, every time I hang up the phone, I've been encouraged, probably as much or more than they were, just to hear, to talk with them. And that's what we need in this time. We need to be more connected to one another, to really seek out and reach out and help. So, man, so thankful for you, bro, and just your leading us in this regard. And man, I'm really excited. In the midst of hard times, I'm excited to see the church be the church, and to see our community come together, and to really see us kind of move through this thing and help people well in what is a really hard and difficult time, and probably will get a little bit harder and more difficult in the days to come.
for sure.
Thanks so much for joining me, Jake, man. It's such a blast always. And yeah, man, can't wait to see this up and going. So Rock Point, get out there. Let's go.
Absolutely.
And do this. All right. Hey, thanks, bro.
Thanks for doing this, man.